All right, YouTube, the DEA has come out and clarified something. Yes, indeed, hemp oil, even if it is sub-euphoriant as far as its properties. That is, you take it, you don't actually get high. It's just, it's got cannabinol in it. I believe that's the specific cannabinoid that's left in for seizure treatment, I believe, among other things. Oh, it's still considered a narcotic. It's still, a Schedule 1 substance. So, something that won't even get you high and is found in hemp products anyway, yeah, we can throw you in jail for that too. What happens if somebody has hemp jewelry or something like that? Well, it's probably got trace amounts of these so-called drugs in them. Are they going to prison too? The DEA is full of shit. This is just their natural pushback against the movement to finally get ourselves up to speed with modern science and start decriminalizing many of these substances that really don't hurt anybody anyway. They're trying to justify their bloated budget, their massively bloated manpower, the fact that they've, for decades and decades made mistake after mistake, that their scheduling system makes no sense. I would like to think that the drug scheduling system should be ignored, and Congress should come out and clarify that it's null and void, specifically because it's not actually within their purview because it's not accurate. That is, the scheduling system used by the DEA is completely anti-scientific. It would be like them determining that it's a drug to say that the world is more than 6,000 years old, or something like that. That's about as much sense as it actually makes. Marijuana doesn't kill people that smoke it. Can it fuck them up? If they're smoking it constantly, can it fuck up their lungs? Yeah, it can. Largely, though, it's fairly harmless. What about psychedelics? Same thing. Most of the horror stories about psychedelics, they either take place because someone had underlying psychosis and got triggered by it. Well, you shouldn't have been doing drugs, probably. Or it's a spook story, like that story they used to tell in the news here back in the late 90s, I think it was, or early 2000s. They told a story that some kid had taken salvia divinorum and built an altar in their living room with a barbecue stove and, killed himself. Turns out that what actually happened was that the kid was already depressed, suicidal, long before discovering salvia. Wasn't even on salvia at the time, and locked himself in the garage and asphyxiated himself by turning the car on in the locked up garage. The fact that salvia was found to be in his possession at the time does not indicate he was actually high when he died. In fact, he probably wasn't, because if he took the salvia, he probably wouldn't have been able to start the car. But that's common sense. That's well beyond the DEA's ability to actually function at, let's face it. So the DEA is full of crap. Acid does not make you stare at the sun until your eyes melt out of their sockets. Mushrooms aren't going to make you jump off a skyscraper and think you can fly, assuming that you're competent at all and you're not taking a heroic dose your first time like a total asshole. If you are using them properly, most of these substances are safe. I've used them. I no longer use drugs. I haven't in, I think almost half a decade now. I haven't even used marijuana. And I'm perfectly happy with that. I'd prefer, honestly, to chug down a bunch of caffeine till I can feel my heart become a little bit arrhythmic. That's when it gets good. That's when you load up on stimulants. It feels pretty damn good, or something like that. Or, a glass of wine, something like that. Something relaxing. That ultimately is addictive. It is poisonous. It is, it can fuck you up as well. But, I can drink it and there's no problem from it. I couldn't even use marijuana. It'd just give me an anxiety attack. But I don't care if other people use it. Least of all this, hemp oil extract. Oh, no. It contains 10,000th of a part per million of some cannabinoid that we've banned other than the one that we kind of tolerate. Oh, it's still an illegal substance. We're going to drag you to prison for it. All you seizure patients, take note. All you cancer patients. That's nuts. It's just stupid. And the entire plant should be legal. We should legalize it. Here's what we should do. You want to make a lot of money? United States legalizes all these drugs and starts exporting them. Hell, we've got the means to manufacture them. We can manufacture the world's supply of LSD. Let's manufacture their meth and their amphetamine. Let's get other people hooked on drugs for a change. Let's weaken instead of having the Chinese ship their crappy-ass synths over here. They've got synthetic heroin. They've got synthetic meth. They've got synthetic marijuana. They've got synthetic coke. They've got synthetic everything. And they can produce it really cheap. Let's undercut them. Let's start exporting the real good shit to China. Get them all crack addicted. Get them addicted to opium for a change. As a little bit of revenge for what they've done to our culture. Look around here. I've seen several people over the course of maybe the last month. They were obviously strung out walking down the street. This is a homogenous, low-crime, small-town community in northern New England. This isn't Detroit. This isn't Houston. This isn't Oakland. This is a small-town chunk of America that traditionally has relatively few problems with crime, in a state that is largely known as being hippie-trippy. Oh yeah, those people up there, they smoke weed, and sometimes they do mushrooms. That's what we're essentially known for. Lately, weed is being left way behind in favor of synthetic materials from, again, China, that come as lab chemicals. The DEA can't even keep up with them, even with the Analog Act, which was largely fucked anyway from its inception and is toothless to begin with. They can't keep up with that, nor can they keep up with the constant flow of cheap heroin. Thank you, Bush, for that wonderful war in Afghanistan. That was great. Cheap cocaine. Thank you, Obama, for flooding the border. Cheap crack, cheap meth. You know, people make that in their sheds and their trailers usually. Every once in a while, someone's trailer blows up. It turns out they were manufacturing something. The DEA obviously is powerless to stop this. Now, I would ask those who don't like drugs, you're like moralist or straight edge or something, okay, I can respect that. You're not using drugs. Good. Yeah, that's fine. But we've been waging the drug war for decades, and the addiction rate's higher than ever. It does appear that we have failed. Now, shouldn't we give up while we're ahead and try a different strategy, one that costs less? One that doesn't throw people in prison who get out and they immediately go looking for a fix anyway, which hopefully will solve this problem. A lot of these drugs are coming in from overseas because there's demand for them. Well, why don't we cut off demand by allowing it to be produced probably more safely here? I'm not talking about a government monopoly. I'm talking about, I don't care if somebody grows weed plants. I don't care if someone hangs out in a silo and creates LSD. I don't care. Enforce the DUI laws, public intoxication. You know, make it an aggravating factor. If someone's high or doped up in some way and they commit some other crime, you know, give them an extended sentence. But if somebody just wants to smoke weed on their lawn, hell, I don't care. Just don't do it around me. If you want to shoot up heroin, okay, we'll offer you addiction treatment. You know, if you're out in public and you're strung out, yeah, we're going to drag you in and detox you. And then it's going to be mandatory rehab. You're not going to have a choice. And it's still going to be cheaper than throwing people in prison. It's a lot quicker. It's a lot more effective. Hell, it's a great idea. It saves so much money. No more prison overcrowding. Wouldn't need to hire so many guards. Wouldn't need to build so many prisons. Wouldn't need to have so many long, drawn-out court cases. Constantly, the dockets are full of marijuana conviction, heroin conviction, cocaine conviction, and stuff like that. Hell, I'd rather focus on the murderers and the rapists and, you know, the child molesters, you know, actual crimes. The DEA is a dinosaur in the modern age of flight. They don't know what they're doing. The scheduling system is wrong. It flies in the face of every available bit of scientific literature that comes anywhere close to modern. Any even remotely modern literature on the subject from actual scientists, whether here or in some other country, agrees many of these substances that they consider highly addictive aren't addictive at all. Many substances they consider particularly harmful are generally not harmful. And substances that they consider okay, like tobacco and alcohol, are the ones that are killing the most people. The scheduling system, the Congress should say, why do we even have a DEA? It's obviously not performing its function. It's supposed to keep the public safe against all these horrible, like, devil's weed and devil's hypodermic needle and devil's powder and stuff like. It's not doing that. It's making the drugs more prevalent. It's created a black market. What happens is they make it illegal, and there's still demand. People still want it. So a black market crops up. That black market is feeding other crime too. Therein lies the problem. It creates organized crime syndicates. It also drives up the price of these goods because of artificial scarcity, and it makes them more money. And then they can hire the hitmen. They can abduct the kids and turn them into prostitutes. Real easy, because they've got all the money in the world. And Uncle Sam has made them rich. The drug war was a good idea in principle by bleeding hard individuals who thought they were doing the right thing and did exactly the wrong thing as the result of their emotions. Another reason why we need to use sense. We need to use pragmatism. We need to think about things before we pass laws, before we pass regulations. Most of our laws and regulations are stupid in this country. Not just this country, the whole world over, let's face it. The DEA is the prime example of this. So now an oil, marijuana extract, which doesn't even exist, it's not the way you spell marijuana. They don't even know how to spell it. They're living in the 1920s. Now this will be illegal too. So, fuck your seizure relief. You spaz out on the floor because you're a good red-blooded American. You'd never want to use a substance that Uncle Sam arbitrarily determined was a Schedule I substance. Let alone the fact that it has zero addiction potential. It's not even psychotropic. It has a zero risk potential for harm because it's basically inert. This extract's essentially inert. It's not going to get you high. It's like that Charlotte's Web strain they developed. It doesn't have half the cannabinoids in it. It's used for seizure relief. That's being used on a medical level, but the DEA is still saying, oh, well, the federal government still says it's illegal. Fuck the federal government on this token. Nothing in the Constitution even gives you the right to legislate such a thing. The Interstate Commerce Clause comes up. Well, what if somebody's growing a pot plant in their state and consuming it in their state? What then? Interstate commerce doesn't apply now, does it? There's the problem. Name the part of the Constitution that says, because the 10th Amendment specifically says that if it's not enumerated as a federal power, then it can't be a federal power. It belongs to the states or to the people at large. Name the part of the Constitution that contravenes that on this issue. There is none. That's the problem. But nobody has ever actually waged a serious court battle against the DEA because it's so difficult for people to do so. Because they would have to be aggrieved in order to do so, which means that they would be a felon because they'd probably be using drugs. Well, there's the problem. That's why nobody can effectively fight it out in court. It's very difficult. We shouldn't have any drug laws related. We shouldn't tax it either. The amount of money we'd save on prison overcrowding and enforcement alone would be so massive we could pay for all the addiction treatment centers that we've already got, double the amount, still save a huge amount of money, and let people sell it overseas. Let them sell it to the Canadians and the Mexicans and stuff like that. Let's sell drugs to them for a change and fuck them up for a change. It'd be hilarious. What would they do then? Oh, the evil United States letting people get high. Yeah, we're going to get your citizens high too, and we're going to get rich doing it. We'll drain the coffers of all of China dry. We'll get everybody in that country addicted to cocaine. Wouldn't that be funny? Right now, all their labs are pumping out synthetic materials and shipping them over here in a dubious manner. I wonder why they could possibly be doing that. Meanwhile, you've got, this is funny too, you've got people are saying we shouldn't perturb the Chinese. Chinese are so great. The same people that are saying, oh, bomb the Russians. Oh, China's so wonderful. Why is Trump bullying China around? China is getting millions of people in this country addicted to hard drugs. China is, fucking around with all of its neighbors. The Chinese government is actually still communistic, unlike the Russian government. One of these things is not like the other. By the way, one of them is easier to bully around because it doesn't have thousands of nuclear weapons, it only has a few hundred. I think people should keep that in mind. The DEA is retarded, it shouldn't even exist. We should disband, that should be the first federal agency that gets cut. I hope Trump does go on a cutting spree. And I hope he doesn't just cut their budget or muzzle them. I hope he gets rid of the DEA altogether because it's useless. And then the EPA too, that'd be a good one, the IRS, the NSA. The Department of Education. Look at our rankings. Oh, they're so great. Yeah, the DE does such a good job. I don't think so. Yeah, this stuff should be legal. All of these drugs should be legal. There is no power given to the federal government to enforce such laws. It is unconstitutional. People need to start using jury nullification more, render it ineffective like they did prohibition. That's about all. Peace out.